Anne's still not ready. Oh, Mother, this is the only party I go to these holidays. I'm getting too old for blind man's buff.
Well, dear, it was you who insisted.
Anne!
I don't think she's very fond of blind man's buff either.
Yes, well, she has to learn her social obligations. We're a quarter of an hour late already.
I know. If any luck, we'll miss the ocean is agitated. What's that? It's the most hideous game of the year. Can I have the cocktail, Granny?
Of course not.
He had whiskey. He said he needed Dutch courage.
Well, that's quite different. Now, come on.
We need to stay long, need we?
If you stay as long as your father thinks polite, you can have a glass of wine when you come home.
Thank you, Granny. Now I can spurn the fruit cup.
How pretty she is.
Isn't she? I sometimes wondered what she would have been like if her mother had lived.
Do parents influence their children? I don't see much of our influence on John.
Or James?
Well, he always went his own road.
He never spends Christmas here, does he?
His work doesn't allow him time.
Or do you never invite him?
Well, it's only because of Anne that we celebrate it all. Henry had his own name for the day. He called it Children's Day. He didn't approve of the word Christmas.
Why shouldn't we celebrate the great Palestinian religious leader?
Oh, you know, dear, Christmas existed long before him.
Did your husband mind Holly?
No, that was part of the ancient pagan festival, or so he said. Did you hear a car?
No.
I hope Anne hasn't found some excuse.
I'll go and see.
I hate bell at night.
Perhaps an extra Christmas meal.
Dr. Croy,
Good evening, Mrs. Califer.
something happened to James. Is he with you?
I hope to find him here,
Here? He isn't here. Why didn't you telephone?
because I had to see you, Mrs. Califer. If I had telephoned, you would refuse to let me come.
What's all the urgency? I don't understand why.
I telephoned him twice yesterday. He was not at home. Again today. Even Mr. Corder didn't know where he was. When you saw him at Nottingham, did he speak to you about going away?
Perhaps. I can't really remember.
I'm very anxious, Mrs. Califer. You see, I know that he had suicide on the mind.
Suicide?
He took some pills from my desk. They're quite harmless, but he didn't know that. So you see, I have to know what happened afterwards between the two of you.
We talked. What could have happened? We talked of this and that.
Did he seem disturbed?
I don't know. Perhaps a little.
You never told me that.
Mrs. Califer, I wish you'd be more specific. This is your son.
He spoke of visiting someone.
Who? Who was he going to visit?
His uncle.
William Califer?
Well, it was just a wild notion of his. I don't suppose he went.
Mrs. Califer, your son is in a very dark place. We in Europe have had experience with dark places. I knew a man who lived for 5 days in a sewer without food. The manhole was in the pavement just in front of his home. He stayed there, just under the manhole. He heard the footsteps of strangers in the day and the voices of policemen at night. He waited there for his mother to come and speak to him and tell him it was safe to come out. He couldn't trust even his father.
Perhaps in Europe they breed mothers.
Sarah, my dear.
But not here. Oh no, not here.
Mrs. Califer, it's time to tell us what you know.
I know, but there isn't anything I know.
Your son is in danger, grave danger. Think, if he had been in that sewer, you'd have risked anything.
Of course, that would have been easy. This is different.
It's no use, Dr. Kreuzer. You're working on a false assumption. Mothers don't necessarily love their children.
That's not true, Sarah. You know it's not true.
When I married James, I never saw you in our house. Yet when I divorced him, I became your dear adopted daughter.
Henry and I loved you, Sarah.
Yes, so long as James wasn't there. She's upright, Dr. Kreuzer. She's strong. She's loyal. She has all the wifely virtues. But don't look for a mother there!
I love him.
Who, Henry? I don't suppose James told you this, Dr. Kreuzer. It was always Henry. What suited his stomach? Not string these. His mind, his reputation. William Califer didn't suit it. He had to go. And then her son. If I had a son, I would not sacrifice him for my husband. Why do we have to sacrifice people? Why can't we just let each other be?
Henry wasn't selfish, Sarah. He was weak, that's all. You don't know yet how weakness can call to you.
But I don't want to protect anyone. I'm not God. I'm not strong enough or wise enough. And I don't want to be protected either. I'm not that cunning.
Have you no pity?
And I haven't that much pride. You don't pity an equal.
Mrs. Califer, why did he want to see his uncle so suddenly?
All right, you can stand there and wait for him to die. I can't. Will you drive me to town, Dr. Kreuzer?
If you wish me to.
I'm going to pack my bags. Someone else will have to decorate for Children's Day.
She's very overwrought.
Yes.
She won't really go. It's just a mood. I would have been happy to put you up, Dr. Kreuzer.
It's kind of you, but I have to be in London early tomorrow morning.
Do you think me a monster too?
No, but perhaps I've been treating the wrong patient.
You're Dr. Kreuzer.
This is Dr. Baston.
Sarah seems upset. What's this about James attempting suicide again?
Again.
When he was 14, he tried to hang himself.
So that was it.
Yes.
And now he knows this.
Yes.
I wish I'd known it first. Mrs. Califer, is that all you have to tell me?
Yes.
Dr. Kreuzer, this matter of the pills is really serious. I think we have to consider whether he wouldn't be better for a while in a home. I know it would be difficult for you, Mary, but
I've never believed in captivity even for animals. Don't you remember that letter we all signed?
this is different. This is for his good.
I've heard people defend zoos that way. The animals are freed from starvation and fear. I know all those answers, Fred. Don't hand them out to me. We fought in the same causes.
Yes, and sometimes we were wrong. Sometimes we were too general and too emotional. We must avoid sentimentality.
That's what we always call a sentiment we don't share, isn't it?
We have to look at the facts. When he was 14, he tried to kill himself. Since then, he suffered from all sorts of delusions, melancholia, a sense of persecution. You hadn't the chance to observe him, Dr. Kreuzer, when he came for his father's funeral. I had.
Please, Fred.
Let me finish, Mary! I admit I have less experience with psychotics than you.
sorry to interrupt.
What are you doing here, James?
I've come to see Sarah.
But it's too late. There's no train.
I've hitchhiked. 8 hours on the open road. It's a beautiful time of year. I like the trees bare so you can see their shape. I didn't expect to see you, Dr. Kreuzer. I seem to have interrupted a conclave.
We were talking of you.
I don't suppose you'd care for my opinion, but I've never felt saner in my life.
Oh, trying to kill yourself again, that wasn't entirely sane.
That belongs to the past.
I feel strongly that a period of rest, perhaps under Dr. Kreuzer...
I don't need Dr. Kreuzer anymore. The gap is filled. I know what happened.
What do you know?
That I killed myself in the potting shed.
You see, Dr. Kreuzer, what, did your uncle convince you of this?
No. He believed, like all of you, it was a mistake. It was all he had left. He'd given everything to bring me back.
Asylums are full of people who think that God chose them specially. Dr. Kreuzer, this is a far worse symptom than your stolen pills.
James,
Sarah, you ought to know this right away. I want to have James certified.
certified, but that's nonsense.
He's completely irresponsible.
But those pills, after all, they weren't dangerous.
Oh, we are dealing with something worse than pills. James has just informed us that he killed himself in the potting shed and was resurrected by the prayers of his uncle, I suppose.
James, you never said that. Dr. Baston, you misunderstood.
Baston reports me quite accurately.
You're not mad, James.
Well, that's what they have to decide, isn't it?
Well, Dr. Kreuzer, are you satisfied now?
An illusion need not be dangerous, Dr. Baston. An illusion can be cured.
Dr. Kreuzer, how many of your patients have to attempt suicide before you are ready to certify them?
Attempted suicide is not necessarily serious. Only the suicides which succeed.
Not serious? You astonish me!
People play act to themselves, to others. The majority of attempted suicides never meant to succeed.
Yes, but some people may succeed through inexperience.
You can hardly gain experience in killing yourself.
You know what I mean! Things may go wrong. A man may stumble on the right number of pills.
Very seldom. We all have great unconscious wisdom.
Well, he succeeded the first time!
Hey, what, Dr. Baston?
I mean, he would have succeeded if the gardener had not found him. You're taking a very great responsibility, Dr. Kreuzer, if you don't sign with me. He is your patient, after all. Coroners are apt to take a harsh view of psychiatrists whose patients kill themselves. Has it never happened to you?
I think, Dr. Baston, that we ought to have the opinion of another doctor, if he is still alive.
The one who was here when it happened.
Dr. Baston was the doctor.
I see.
I can assure you there was nothing unusual.
Massage the
It was
heart.
too late.
Too late.
He was already conscious when I arrived.
I see.
The layman can't recognize death. He thinks that merely because a mirror doesn't fog or a leaf on the lips move.
They tried that.
If such a test for death were infallible, and it never could be, even then I wouldn't accept a miracle. I would simply say we had to redefine our terms, the concepts life and death.
Henry told himself that too. The trouble was he didn't believe the argument.
What on earth are you suggesting, Mary?
Henry believed Potter's story was true. He never spoke of it, but I knew.
Nonsense.
Why do you think I didn't want James to see him when he was dying? Henry could forget so long as he wasn't reminded. If you're guilty, you won't forget. You loved your uncle. You half believed, but your father had a wicked tongue in all the arguments. No, it was my fault too. I didn't realize how deeply he caught a child can't stand confusion.
Mary, we aren't concerned with trivial mistakes in a child's upbringing. You can't pretend that Henry believed that ignorant gardener's story.
James, I never wanted to tell you this. I wanted to forget too. Sleeping dogs, Dr. Kreuzer, sleeping dogs. Henry was a fake.
You appall me! I always thought you loved him!
You know I loved him. One can love a fake. Perhaps it's easier than loving a rightly dude. All his life, he had written on the necessity for proof. Proof, proof, proof. And then a proof was pushed under his nose at the bottom of his own garden. Fred, I saw his face. We always knew each other's thoughts. I could hear him saying to himself, must I recall all those books and start again? But I was trained to my job. I began to protect him. My husband, not my son.
You know, but you never believed.
No, I didn't. It was a long time before I realized just how much he did.
Oh, that party would never end. Oh, hello, Uncle James. Be home for Christmas.
What a gathering.
John, please take Anne upstairs to bed. We have lots to talk about.
But you promised me a glass of wine.
Tomorrow, and it's very late. Now, we've had a nice party.
It was the most hideous party of the year.
I do wish you'd forget that word hideous, Anne. You only learned it last term. Now, come along.
I'll come say goodnight. I have something for you.
Oh, thank you, Uncle James. I can trust your promises. All right, I'll go. But I've got hideous suspicions.
I suppose we must continue.
Please, Fred, it's late. Can't we sleep on
Mary,
it?
we've let this go on too far. What is that?
A gun.
I have told you he's determined to kill himself!
Really, Fred, can't you recognize a toy when you see one?
I got it on the way for Anne. It seemed a suitable present for a detective. I have a magnifying glass here too, see? Perhaps that's more suitable for Dr. Baston. Yes, sir.
Then please, all of you, won't you leave us alone?
I won't take the responsibility!
Then I will.
Dr. Kreuzer, my bag's in the hall. I'll be with you in a few minutes.
Do you think I'm mad?
I don't know.
Is everyone who believes in a God mad?
No, of course not. I suppose I believe in him on Sundays if the music's good, but I'm in such a fog. I don't know what I think. But it's such a useless miracle. It ruined us. It gave you 30 empty years and your uncle.
I don't understand either. But I couldn't believe in a God so simple I could understand him.
James, why did you come to see me?
I want you to marry me.
Sometimes I've dreamed of you saying that, but James, it didn't work the first time.
Couldn't we try again?
I remember those same words, but I spoke them.
Poetic justice.
I don't want justice. I love you, but love wasn't enough before, was it? One's got to understand. When I looked at you, I used to see nothing. But this belief of yours, James, it's worse than nothing. It sent you so far away that I can't follow. I can't love a God I don't know exists. I can't pray to a possibility.
I don't even want to pray. I don't love God. I don't want God. But he's there. It's no use pretending. He's in my lungs like air.
You haven't any proof.
Not the kind Bastion needs. But don't tell a man who's just seen a ghost he has no proof. I've seen the marks of his footsteps going away.
Footsteps.
Oh. Have you ever seen a room from which faith is gone? A room without faith. That can be pretty. You can fill it with Regency furniture and pretty flowers. But a room from which faith has gone is quite different. Like a marriage from which love has gone. All that's left are habits and pet names and sentimental objects picked up on beaches and in foreign shores that mean nothing anymore. And patience. Patience like a fog.
Like our marriage.
No. We were like the room without faith. We hadn't lost anything valuable.
Don't be cruel, James, not tonight.
I don't mean to be. Sarah, I was the wrong man to make a deathbed marriage in those days. I had no idea what love was. Nothing mattered. If I slept with you, what did it matter? We'd all be dead as last year's dog. But now when I look at you, I see someone who will never die forever. Sarah, you never believed I wanted you, and you were right. Your kiss was always a question, and I hadn't got an answer. I couldn't love you any more than anyone can love a tree, a glass of wine, a cat.
People love cats.
And they don't know the meaning of the word.
James, I wasn't kissing anyone immortal when I was kissing you. There were no cosmic messages. I was only saying I remembered to order the steaks. And I'll be here tonight, and tomorrow night, and the night after. I don't want eternity, James. I'm bored with eternity, going on and on like a long litany on a wet day.
No. It's time that bores us. Interminable time. I move my hand. It moves in space and time. When there's no time, there shan't be any movement anymore. When we think, we think one thing after another. When there's no time, we shan't think anymore.
A frightening world.
I've been there and I'm not afraid.
But time is all I know.
Oh, I suppose I'm not impatient for eternity either. I suppose I love time too. It's the same as when you love a woman. When you're going to see her in a few hours, you love those hours. They have her importance.
Darling, please try to understand. Even if there was a miracle, I want to forget it.
Like my father?
No, not like your father. I love you, but I hate big things. Everest and the Empire State Building. I don't want to be important. I don't like important people. You're anti-aphrodisiac to me.
Everest exists.
I wish you brought something with you to prove it then. Like the lover in the story, or an out-of-season flower. Dear, I'm scared.
Yes?
Suppose this time I failed you. No, don't speak. You've got to understand me. I don't want to lose you again. But I'd rather lose you than fail you. And if you're looking for someone important, I won't need the specifications. That's all.
Sarah.
We don't have to convince each other. I don't want to share faith. Only understand. Give me a little time. Time to think.
Don't go away.
Be no use going away. I'm no good at thinking alone.
Oh, I didn't know you two.
I was just going.
Not to London, Sarah.
No, just to bed. I'm sorry about what I said to you earlier.
Well, home truths are good sometimes.
I was so smug, wasn't I, condemning you? At least you're trying to protect someone you loved. And here I am just trying to protect myself.
I'm sorry too, Mother. Miracle in the family must be worse than a murder case.
It's a cruel God you believe in.
Is it? Perhaps he had no choice.
A God who can't choose.
Oh, God is conditioned, isn't he? If he's all strength, he can't weaken. If he's all knowledge, he can't forget. If he's all love, he can't hate. Perhaps if someone asks with enough love, he has to give.
People are asking all the time.
Are they? It takes a lot of belief and a lot of love.
But your uncle doesn't believe.
Oh, yes, he does. I've left him praying.
us time, James. You mustn't mind the fuss we've made. You've spoiled our certainties.
Me too.
It seems such an enormous supernatural act, but well, then our certainties, they were pretty big too. It was all right to doubt the existence of God as your grandfather did in the time of Darwin. Doubt that was human liberty, but my generation, we didn't doubt. We knew. I don't believe in this miracle, but I'm not sure any longer. We are none of us sure. Well, when you're not sure you're alive, what will you do, James?
Marry Sarah, I hope.
It's a very simple aim.
I've lived with the complex long enough.
When I look at you, I don't see a madman or a miracle.
No?
I see all the years when you were happy. Days at the seaside and parties at Christmas. All the ordinary life we had before it happened.
And the toy spade.
How you loved that spade. You kept it with you all those years. Potter found it under you as though you'd taken it in your hand when you climbed on that chair.
Mother, can I stay here a while? Cease to be a stranger.
I've had your room prepared. I hope they've given you enough blankets, but if you're cold, knock on the wall and I shall hear. Go to bed now.
Will Anne be asleep when I go?
I doubt it.
I just wanted to give her this. Well, good night, Mother.
Good night, James.
Good night, Dr. Croiser.
I was just leaving. Goodbye, Captain.
We'll be seeing each other again, at Nottingham or elsewhere.
A friend any more than a patient. Is your daughter ready?
Sarah won't be going with you, Dr. Croiser.
I'm glad. Just now, waiting for her in the hallway, I heard you come in from outside.
I was in the garden.
Wasn't it cold?
I went out to the potting shed. And suddenly, I wasn't frightened anymore. There was nothing ghostly there. The ground wasn't holy. There were no voices and whispers and messages. Just the boxes of seeds and the gardening tools. And I thought, perhaps even miracles are ordinary. There was a girl in the village once they thought had died. Do you think things like that are happening all the time, everywhere?
I don't know. I don't much mind one way or the other.
I thought you wanted the truth. You are a scientist.
I only want a relative truth to make life tolerable.
That's not very brave, is it?
Courage can be a very difficult neurosis.
Anne's not in her room.
Perhaps the bathroom?
I checked everywhere upstairs.
The pantry?
It was the first place I checked.
She must have got in through the window. The detective asleep in her post.
Oh, I had such a funny dream. I was going down the path to the potting shed, and there was an enormous lion there, fast asleep.
What did you do?
I woke it up.